On 5, Alys and Yasmin are here with me. Now, as I said earlier, some big news has just broken and we want your reaction to it. Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner has admitted she didn't pay enough tax on the purchase of a home in Hove in Brighton and had considered resigning about the fact. She's been under intense scrutiny recently over her tax affairs after reports of her purchase of the flat. This morning, she gave an interview to Sky News in which she said reports she'd not paid enough tax on the property were accurate.
I spoke to my family about it. I spoke to my ex-husband, who has been an incredibly supportive person, because he knows that all I've done is try and support my family and help them.
Like, you did think about, should I pack it in for the sake of the family, but your family are backing you to come out today and explain this.
The number one priority for me and my ex-husband has always been to support our children and do the best thing for our children.
Presumably you deeply regret this because of potentially the fallout for you. Do you think your position, Angela Rayner, even though you've explained it, do you think it's sustainable? Do you think you can carry on as particularly Housing Minister?
Well, I made a mistake based upon the advice that I relied upon, that I received at the time, and a leading expert has now said that advice was wrong. I think hopefully most people can see if you rely on advice given to you by lawyers and you follow that process and then you find out that that process is wrong and that advice was wrong, I'm rectifying it at the earliest opportunity. People make mistakes, but I conducted myself in trying to do the right thing, and I hope that people can see that.
OK, it is very complicated, but let me try and explain. Rayner has been under scrutiny after reports she avoided £40,000 in stamp duty on that flat in Hove by removing her name from the deeds of another property in Greater Manchester. So effectively, the flat is her first home, not an additional home. She now says it was a complex living arrangement, as that Greater Manchester property was sold to a trust following her divorce to provide stability for her teenage son, who has lifelong disabilities and is the sole beneficiary of the trust. Rayner says she took legal advice on buying the Hove flat, which she talks about there, which suggested she was liable to pay standard stamp duty. But after all the newspaper reports put her in the spotlight, she sought expert counsel advice and learned she was liable to pay additional stamp duty. She added these matters were confidential, but she applied to a court yesterday to get this lifted in the interests of public transparency. As you heard, she's considered resigning. Should she go there, Yasmin? Because she's the Housing Minister. You know, there's doing what you can get away with and there's doing the right thing. And here it doesn't feel like she's done the right thing, has she?
Well, I'm in a very difficult moral dilemma at the moment, at this moment, because I really rate her. I think she's one of the few people in this government that I trust and admire. And so a part of me doesn't want her to go because she's a proper left-winger and all sorts of things. But another part of me says exactly what you've said, that like Rushnara Ali, who resigned, also I think was a housing minister, junior housing minister, who resigned just a couple of weeks ago, after it was discovered that she owned properties which she was letting out, and she evicted or got the tenants removed and then put the rents up. It's not just that it doesn't look good, it's deeply immoral.
And this was a government that was brought to power as a government of integrity, which was supposed to sweep away all of the moral corruption, if you like, of the previous administrations, all the lies that we heard.
And it didn't start well, did it, with the freebies?
OK, so...
Yeah. So I really admire Angela Rayner.
Can she stay after this?
I don't think she can, but I hope she does. Do you see what I'm saying here?
Alys, I mean, admitting your mistakes, the transparency, the submitting yourself to you know, the full investigation, how far does that go to putting this right? When it is her portfolio at the end of the day, it's housing, it's giving other people access to homes, and at this point she seems to have broken her own rules.
Yeah, I do admire the honesty, and it's difficult not to sympathise. You can see how upset she is here. But no, come on, her position is completely unsustainable, as you say now. She seems to have more complicated tax affairs than any non-dom who she would like to tax into oblivion. As you said, she's supposed to be a proper lefty. She's avoiding tax. You can't behave like that. And she was one of the most pious in all of the government. She calls Tories scum, and yet she behaves worse than.
She apologised for that afterwards, didn't she? She said that was the wrong.
I don't think she's
clearly
behaved
her
worse.
attitude.
I don't think she's behaved worse than Boris Johnson and go, sorry, that is just not the case. She's not behaved worse than them.
avoided
She's put
tax.
herself in the same
can't-
column, hasn't she?
You can't, yeah.
No,
she's avoided
she's
tax.
done wrong.
She's
but
used.
we can't say she's done worse than the Tories.
She's used methods that most of us don't have access
Exactly.
to.
I
Place
know,
people-
be the
I've
person
said
who's
she's done-
setting the
but I think
taxes.
it's just not right to say she's done worse than the Tories.
She's avoided tax. That's it's indisputable now, and she's apologised for it, so she's done the right thing there. But look, the public are going to hate this. The public absolutely hate the idea that the people who set the rules don't follow them themselves. And I think Keir Starmer, frankly, will be delighted if she resigns. She's a thorn in his side. She represents a faction of his party that he wishes
But
wasn't there.
he's losing some of the main tenets. His relationship with Rachel Reeves, as we spoke about earlier on today, is hanging by a thread. Now, Angela Rayner, who does appeal to the left of the party, is tied in to what people consider working class. Maybe, again, she is on a sugarly peg, as they say, in Scotland. Let's find out what you think about it. Sharon's in County Down. Sharon, do you think Angela Rayner can stay after this?
Definitely not.
Why? What is it that you find particularly offensive about what you've just seen?
Particularly, this Labour government everything has been wrong from day one. But with Angela Rayner, she wouldn't have done anything. She's been caught out, and it's wrong what she's done, and she should go.
Sharon, she doesn't have, I don't know what is a typical family unit formation. Obviously, just hearing her talking about it, she's trying to manage a difficult situation. Do those excuses, does what she said cut any mustard with you at all? Somebody trying to make the best of their situation?
No, we all have bad situations, but we don't do wrong.
And what is it specifically that you identify as where she's got it wrong?
She's got it wrong by not paying this money. And I don't believe for 1 minute that she didn't know about this.
She says she took advice and the advice was wrong. She relied on lawyers and got the wrong advice from them. What about that? Does that have any weight at all for you?
No, I don't believe that for 1 minute.
OK. Listen, thanks for your call, Sharon. I wonder how many other people are feeling the same way, seeing those pictures there, and obviously Angela Rayner in an emotional state. But is that because she's been caught out, do you think? Is that what it is? What would you ascribe those tears to, Yasmin, that you saw there?
I think it is partly because she must feel she's let herself down and her side down. But certainly out of, the worst thing that's happened to the Labour Party is Keir Starmer, not Angela Rayner, OK? He's the one I wrote my column on it today. The various groups who've been let down by this Prime Minister. But she should have been, as they said about Caesar, Caesar's wife, whiter than white, blameless, blemishless.
There's no sleaze attached to Keir Starmer.
Well, there's the freebie scandal.
OK. So
a lot more there.
Are you starting to see an administration which is falling apart at the seams?
Absolutely, yeah. And as you put it perfectly, this administration came in saying it was going to clean up politics, that Tories were sleazy and they were scummy and whatever, and it turns out they're just as with fingers in the till. You can't be the people who are setting tax rates, especially the incredibly high tax rates we're all paying at the moment, going to go up again in the budget, when at the same time you're trying to avoid it yourself. I'd also say you can't be the housing secretary and have some housing fiddle like this. Also, stamp duty, can we say, is one of the worst taxes out there.
That's existed for many, many years before this.
It's an absolutely terrible tax.
Let's take another call. Trevor's in Somerset. Does Angela Rayner have to go, Trevor?
Yes, in my opinion, she does, absolutely.
OK, you saw her there. She was speaking as a mum, trying to manage her family situation. Does that not mean anything to you, or is part of the job that you have to separate these things out?
Well, in her position as a housing minister, absolutely it does. I mean, my question would be, why is she buying property in Sussex, in Brighton?
I think most of us reacted the same way. If you need a place in town, that's not Hove. Hove is going to be as difficult as many other parts of the country to get into town to do your job. Is that the way you felt about it?
Well, it is, yes. I mean, I'm born and bred in Hove. I'm nearly 67 years old now, and I couldn't afford to buy property in my hometown, and moved away and bought my first property in the Midlands in the early 80s. I probably still couldn't afford to go back to Brighton. I'm a moderately successful businessman. So how, as an MP on the left wing of the Labour Party, she can afford to do so without doing something that, frankly, I think must be slightly dodgy, I really don't know.
OK, what does this mean for Keir Starmer's administration, Trevor? What do you think about that?
Well, I'm inclined to think that it's yet another nail in the coffin lid for this guy. They just haven't performed at all over the last 12 months, and more than a few of us are very disappointed in them.
Yeah, you do wonder what it means, you know, and why Keir Starmer didn't step in himself and do something about this situation before we got to this point.
Well, absolutely, yeah. I mean, he's a fence sitter, unfortunately, and he doesn't make enough positive decisions.
OK, we're going to have to leave it there, unfortunately. Vanessa, yeah, I know you're going to have so much more to say about this, aren't you?
We certainly are, Matt. Thank you.